Hi, everybody. Welcome to the IC topic chat for today, Thursday. What day is it? Oh gosh, I have no idea. It's the 14th of August. My children go back to school next week. Can you believe that? All of them, all three of them. They go to college, they go to high school, all the things. It's like the dawn of a new day for the Feldman household over here. And speaking of dawns of new days, we're talking about RFPs today. And so Tamara Hamai, who's a former IC TIG chair and a wonderful, lovely person, wants to talk about turning a leaf and new RFPs and a new day. So I'm not going to go too far into anything. I'm just going to let her take it away. Welcome, Tamara.
Hi. So yeah, I'm Tamara, like camera, and I have been involved with AEA for, I don't know. I actually I looked a long time ago for how many years. It's been maybe 15 years that I've been a member. And Matt and I actually were, I'm timeless. Yes, that is a wonderful way of saying old. I appreciate you. Um, but I've been an independent consultant. I started my consulting firm back in 2008 and incorporated as like an official company, not just a sole proprietor, in 2010. That's really when the official birth of the business as it is today. But um yeah, today's topic is for the love of RFPs. And you can, depending on how you say that title, you could share how you feel about RFPs. Um, but my goal is, as a lover of RFPs, a reluctant accepting lover of RFPs, hopefully turn RFPs from your enemy to your ally. So, just very quickly, what an RFP is. When I say the RFP, so request for proposal, that acronym, I'm actually going to incorporate all of the different forms of procurement that use request for proposals, request for applications, request for quotes, request for qualifications, bids, quotes, all the different little ways that people publicly or semi-publicly, I'll call it, re request submissions from consultants. I am not including things that are not made available or invited to more than one person necessarily, and things that the proposal is just a presentation of the future scope of work where it's not actually competitive. So this is really about competitive proposals, even if it's just a small invited group of people you're competing against. I'm going to go through content really as quickly as I can because I want to leave as much time for your specific questions. And I'll go into just the details you really want to hear about. So when you think of RFPs, when I speak with most consultants, they hate them. They it brings up a lot of feelings, and it's okay if those feelings are coming up right now. But there is a hate of them from a lot of reasons, and I also hear a lot of newer consultants, like early few years, saying, "I just have written off. I'm not going to do RFPs." And so, hopefully, at the end of this, you'll be at least a little bit inspired to consider changing your opinion. Um, but the reason that many people dislike RFPs is because first, they take a lot of time to find, screen, and respond to. They're honestly like annoying. Like they're confusing and annoying. They're long requests, and you can't usually talk to somebody about it, so you can't get answers to questions. The most common answer to the question that's submitted, "What's your budget?" is, "We're not going to tell you." So it's annoying. And it feels like you have no control over the outcome, right? That you submit and you're just like waiting, hoping. And as Matt sort of suggested earlier in our intro, was sometimes they're not fair, right? Or they're not actually legit. And they're either set up for someone specific to win, which I have been the beneficiary of that, but I have also not been. And or yeah, like it's unjust, right? They steal your ideas and do them yourself. They don't contract anyone. They contract five people, right? Like it feels like a hot mess. So, given that all of these things are true, um, why are we here, right? If all of those horrible things are true, then why are we even talking about this? So I know from experience, but also have coached many other consultants to effectively build a business relying on RFPs as the primary or sole source of clients. I have been in business since 2008, as I said, and I have been responding to RFPs since 2010. 86% of my revenue over the past 17 years has come from RFPs. Uh, our lifetime win rate, so this includes the bad years when I didn't know what the hell I was doing, right? Like my lifetime win rate is 17%, but things have gotten much better over the years. We have optimized, and yes, go 2025. We have a 50% win rate this year so far. And when we look at this, our average client lifetime value is 155,000, just over 155,000. So if you are somebody who has small projects, know that RFPs can get you big projects, right? And client lifetime value is not the same as this initial contract value. It is the amount of revenue that comes from project extensions, additional like all of the multiple years that come after, right? The things that those clients that came into our business through RFPs originally, what they have then brought to us within their lifetime working with us. We have a very high retention rate of clients, and so that is one of the reasons why we have such a good average. So RFPs are good in a sense that, yes, they work for bringing in projects. They're mostly free, right? There's no cost actually to finding and responding to them except for your time, which that of course is not free. But you honestly probably spend just as much time on other forms of marketing, right? On networking, on referrals, on posting on social media, on things that are potentially less consistent, or you can't know for sure how much success they're bringing you. If you hate talking to people, which many of us don't like to talk to people, you can win an RFP without talking to a single person, right? And you can do it without knowing anybody, without knowing the right person. You don't have to super relationship build in order to succeed with RFPs. You can win without having a long history of consulting. So it's great if you are just like transitioning, for example, from what I call a jobby job, a 9 to 5, to consulting. Or if you don't have brand recognition. So Matt shared the story about like, I knew somebody there, I submitted a proposal and we didn't win. And there's someone else who also is a really known person that didn't win. But the person who probably won, or the firm that probably won, is probably someone no one's heard of before. And that's actually one of the evenness of the playing field of if you are not an organization that has a lot of brand recognition, you can still win projects through RFPs. You can optimize the process so that you can actually rely on a consistent, predictable win rate, which is not something you can do with most other marketing channels. So what I mean by that is you can actually say, if I submit this many proposals per year, I can predict I will get this many new projects. So obviously I'm bought in. I love RFPs. But who's actually using these things, right? So who are the clients that use RFPs? And so the next couple of things I'm going to talk about is all about buying behavior. So buying behavior is how your potential customers, the people in your market, buy services. And so who buys using RFPs? Larger nonprofits. It is rare that a smaller nonprofit will use an RFP in any form because their projects are also very small and they don't have a place to even post the RFP, right? But larger nonprofits public agencies. So this is any form of government, city, county, state, federal, like all those weird random independent public agencies, and philanthropies. So foundations and other funders. Large donors, like individuals, often do not, but we have seen people like Mackenzie Scott moving toward RFP procurement processes after she went through her own little, I'm just going to donate you money round. I say that like that wasn't a lot of money. It was a lot of money, um, so why these specific types of organizations or potential clients use procurement processes or RFP processes is um, transparency. So these are organizations that a lot of people are looking at and watching closely. And so they want to be as transparent with their purchasing behavior as possible. And then also there is, I will call it a false sense of fairness, but they believe that it is more fair if it is this sort of neutral, objectified process that RFPs are. So this is their motivation. They don't actually um, know that it is fair. They don't actually know who's paying attention, right? They don't know if anyone's going to come at them, but they're trying to prevent. It's all about, the cover your ass philosophy, and that's what RFPs are all about. So once they identify a need for a service, they are going to determine the type of procurement process based on their total budget. So I'm going to go through basically the three different sizes of things and what they mean for what the process looks like. If it is a very small project, so usually this is something that's like 5,000 or 10,000 or less, that amount will always vary by organization, even in government. But they are often, if it's public agency, it is published somewhere, so you can actually usually find that policy, but there are thresholds. So if it's very small, then the person who is basically the contracting manager, the person who wants to buy the service, can make the decision. And so they will contact people they know, request them to submit a bid, and then choose based on who they like the best and negotiate and sign a contract with who they choose. So this is a very informal process. This is why I call it semi-public, because they've requested bids, but it's not like posted anywhere. Small to medium. This is maybe in that 10 to 25,000 range. Like like I said, it's going to vary by organization, but ish. And in this case, there is going to be like a proposal or quote process, but it's still informal and it's still mostly invited. So they're going to, if they know you exist, they will reach out, they'll send the message to everyone they know, not just specific people they really want to work with, and get at least 3 quotes or proposals. They'll review them. Sometimes they'll review them with other people on their team because it's a little bigger of a process. They'll select their consultant and they'll negotiate and sign a contract with their consultant based on the review. Sometimes they need to like present and justify to get approval from their board. Or depending if they're a public agency, then it's like somebody that's above their department. The biggest, these are the formal ones that you actually see like on websites and places, right? So these are anything usually bigger than 25,000, sometimes it's bigger than 50,000, right? That they write and publish a formal RFP document. They put it on their website. Maybe you've seen those like aggregator websites like Periscope and public whatever. I hate these things, so I don't remember their names, but OpenGov, like all those places. They will then promote that link to everybody. They'll post on social media, etc. So these are the ones that are very visible because they're trying to get it out to everybody. Sometimes you will get an informal invitation in the sense that someone who releases a formal RFP will email you directly and say, hey, we released this. It'd be great if you responded. But it doesn't actually give you any real like boost over other people because the screening of the submissions is usually done by the procurement department or admin or fiscal department just to make sure you didn't like use the wrong font size, you put the PDF pages in the right order, you have all the requirements in your document. This is where a lot of people just get like cut because details matter in proposals. And then a review panel will score your submissions. Good RFPs actually tell you how they're going to score them, so like what the rubric is, but many don't. And then based on the score, that is purely how things are decided. So that review panel chooses using their scoring process, they choose the consultant in government. Sometimes it's the lowest price wins. That's going away now for the most part, but you still every once in a while have somebody who is trusted by an agency. And so the review panel all knows that agency. And so they still sort of score them a little higher, which is how relationships can influence this formal process. So, in California, the state, when we look at the state, only 25% to 30%, depending on the year, of all of their contracting actually happens through a formal RFP of this process. So know that government is very largely not using this process for a lot of their money. Billions of dollars are getting contracted through these like very small and small medium processes, the informal bids and quotes. So you will need to build relationships with the program directors and procurement managers in public agencies, or build relationships with nonprofits and philanthropies if you want to be invited to submit to these smaller and medium-sized ones. I'm not going to go super into the detail of selecting opportunities because I know you all have had a separate session on this, but just some of the things that I think are not spoken about a lot, which I want to highlight, are first, you should define your service offers before you even think about RFPs, right? What is your service? What are the components of the service? What are the deliverables? What's that scope look like? What's the budget? Like, how much do people actually pay you? And then match the opportunities that you are finding to your service offerings. And that service offering could be modular, right? Where it's, okay, this is the base of the evaluation process, but then like if there's a set of focus groups, it's this. If there's a survey, then it's this, right? Like the different types of data collection methods. So then you can semi-customize based on what modules to include for a proposal. But the thing that will break your soul and your business very quickly as you grow is if you custom design every scope for every client, because then you're delivering a separate thing for every single person and you're inventing every single thing from scratch every time you do it. You also want to screen for, is there sufficient response time? One of the biggest indicators that they already know who they want to work with is that they release the RFP on Tuesday and it's due 2 Tuesdays later. Okay, like that very short response time tells you that somebody's already in the wings. Or they're a terrible client, you don't want to work with them. Yeah. So you also want to screen for budget size. So like do a whole strategic planning process for $7,000, right? Evaluate our whole program year over year for an annual budget of $10,000. Like usually it's not enough to actually do the work. And so even though you might really need money and $10,000 feels like a lot, it's actually not good for you to go after those things. Project timeline, they want you to do a complete evaluation from planning through completion in 3 months or something silly, right? Like the project timeline is unrealistic. So you would have to like bend over backwards trying to get what they need done and deliver them value in a time that's not real. And then also just values alignment. Like I personally do not do anything with, well, historically, I'll just say I'd never do anything with the Department of Defense or anything military related, even like military violence prevention and things, even though I have worked in violence prevention. Now I don't do anything federally funded, period. And so There's just certain things that for you personally, you'll want to define what values alignment means and set those boundaries. Um, Knowing your competitors and what distinguishes you from them. There are a set of people, and I know them. Like literally, sometimes we call each other, say, "Hey, I'm going against you on this one." Like, know who are the common people who you compete against on proposals, and know why people should work with you instead of them. Not in like a bad way, but like what makes you special. And make sure that that is really coming through in your proposal later. To evaluate your RFP success, there are many metrics that I suggest you track. First, how much time it takes per submission. This is something that you should expect to decrease over time. But I don't think it can ever get under like 3 hours, but that's probably going to depend on who you are. The number of submissions per month that you need to, your target number and your actual number, your win rate, your contracted revenue from RFP and non-RFP sources, and the percent of profit that you have for RFP projects, because again, that's also something that should increase over time. Your percent of recurring clients, so client retention. This is how good you deliver your services, how well you deliver your services, and how good the clients are how well you're qualifying your clients. And then lastly, client lifetime value. So the initial project may have been, 2 months for $5,000, but that is the beginning of a lifetime of work with them. And so after several years, you might have $150,000 that you've gotten from that one client. And then this is the last set of info, and then I'm going to open it up because I know that everyone is like chomping at the bit to ask questions. So um, the way that you optimize or improve your win rate is to treat it as like actually evaluate and continuous quality improve, right? Like your processes. So, eat your own dog food, right? Like as an evaluator, evaluate your RFPs and then do something about it, right? So create proposal template materials and with the modules, like I mentioned, with different options, including the budget. So you actually know like how many hours does it really take me to like analyze a single focus group, 3 focus groups, 6 focus groups, right? Like how much cost do I have from different sources? How much profit am I building into this? And so what's the like loaded hourly rate? What are my fixed rates by deliverable, et cetera? Then refine those template materials based on only your successful proposals. Don't worry about your failures. Okay, when you win, look at what you did in there and keep the things there. Particularly as you're speaking to new clients, when they mention things that they really liked about what was in your scope, like keep note of that. Always ask for a debrief meeting or written feedback after you lose. Always. Government is often mandated by law, like they must give you that feedback. And we do this, and I can't tell you, I can't count like the number of times people have said, "You're the only one who has asked for feedback. We actually really appreciate because we are required to do this, right?" And nobody ever asks, and they don't have to do it if you don't ask. So ask. They will tell you very directly. They'll tell you like score by score, like this is the number you got. This is why you got docked. Sometimes. Other times they'll just say someone else was a better fit, but at least you tried. Okay. And then maintain your CRM, maintain a list of potential clients, like know who your government agencies are if you're going for them. Go for your nonprofits. Like list who you are intending to reach, like to hear from RFPs. Join their email list so that when they do share opportunities, you can hear about them. Find out where their procurement page is, bookmark it, and um, and reach out to them, email them and say, "Hey, I'm a consultant. I would love the opportunity to work with you all. Can you include me on your list so that we can work with you in the future?" And of course, tell them what kind of services you do. And that's it. They're comfortable receiving these. They want these things because they want a big list. So that is, I think that's oh no, I have one more thing I wanted to say. Focus on improving one metric at a time. So like I gave you all these like numbers that you can track. You can also define other things that you want to define your RFP success by, but just focus on one thing, either efficiency or effectiveness, that you want to improve at a time. Because process wise, you can't you can't rehab your whole process every time. So one thing at a time, watch it improve, and then focus on something else. So I super sped talk. Uh, I hope now that leaves. I haven't been tracking chat either, so I'm going to look at all the questions.
And before we get into that, we'll open up the for the full verbal chat piece. I know we've got a lot going on in the actual chat, a lot of frustration. I even wrote at one point the tension in the room is palpable because there's just such a lot of emotion about this. And if um, I should have taken a video of Corey doing head nodding, lots of head nodding from Corey. There she is. She might be just listening to really great music. We can't really hear what she's got going on her end. Um, one of the interesting things about you, Tamara, without any context to this session, is that you were one of our first IC Topic Chat participants. I think you were there in May 20th, 2020, so 5 years ago, which is really cool. So that's kind of fun that you've returned. Um,
Mhm.
one of the things I do, and I think I've done this with you before we stop the recording, I like to record this part, is ask a couple key kind of questions about getting started within independent consulting. And I guess one of the questions, and this you can put this in reference to or relevance to RFPs, or you can answer this however you like. But if you had to start all over, what would you do differently? How would you get started? And this is a good question for our newest people who are just now getting involved with independent consulting, and they're trying to figure out what am I supposed to do? I don't get it. How do I get started? So, what are some of those key things that you do when you first get started?
Oh gosh, like 17 things just flooded to my head. So,
Okay.
so one thing that comes up is so when I was in my very like early years in that 2010 year when I fully like was like, I'm a business. Um, that yeah, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I contracted the first marketing consultant that I found, and I paid them $10,000, which was like my entire startup fund. And they literally gave me a marketing plan that said that I would make $0 and lose money for every lead. Like, so I definitely would not do that. And but I think the lesson, like more general lesson, right, is you have like building a network of people that are your people, like other consultants, other entrepreneurs, like starting by getting in community with other business owners is going to help you to find like good referrals and get good people who actually can and will support you, right? Like I didn't know anybody. And so I just like, I wasn't even an AEA member, I don't think, right? Like, and I paid this money to some random person that obviously was bad at their job. I just think community in general, like, is going to be the way that you learn, lessons from other people, observational learning, right? Like people just straight up warning you, do not do that, right? Like that. So getting in community.
So, getting in community. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, I recommend this community. What are some other communities that you recommend?
Um, well, I mean, AEA and particularly the IC the Independent Consulting TIG, has been I think really huge for defining me and my identity as a business owner. And so many of my colleagues and community that are in the evaluation world, like AEA is now my like fun hangout time. So I will definitely encourage the AEA ICTIG community, but also I have worked with business coaches in their mastermind groups and in their communities for many years now. And being connected to other entrepreneurs who are not in our space can really push you out of your box. And, first, they're not academic, and so they will not understand any of the words you say for like the first couple of years. Um, but it really helps you to get really, really good at communicating what you do to people who don't speak our language. and think about ways of getting out in the world, marketing, making sales, also just like even ways of delivering service and providing value to clients that are different than our sort of status quo traditional way.
Yeah, quick reflection on what you just said. Um, the Grant Professionals Association is a great way to connect with people who are doing similar type of work. And when you get into that little group of whatever they call themselves, the independent consultants within the GPA group, you'll realize like these people have hustle like we don't even understand. Like the people who are trying to do grant writing and they're having to find new clients like every 6 weeks. It's a different, and they may or may not have repeat customers. It's a different level of hustle and it's a lot to learn. They have a lot to share, and they're usually really, really wonderful
Mhm.
folks. Last question for you, before we turn off the recording, is this a good time to start an independent consulting practice? Why or why not?
Absolutely. Um, so many reasons why. So first, I generally think that being a business owner can be a, a liberatory act. And so generally, you are able to eliminate so many, not everything, of course, but so many of the um, toxic things about our workplaces and our industry, et cetera. Like, because you actually have the power then to choose who you work with, how you do the work. You also can fire people, which is great. Not like employees, but like clients. Um, also, like hiring consultants, especially right now when budgets are like weirdly tight and everyone's very unsure about things, consultants feel like less of a commitment to organizations than employees because in many ways we're cheaper because if budget changes, they can terminate our contract, right? Like there's not um, like they don't see you as a member of the team the same way as an employee. And so there's not that emotional like burden of when you hire somebody. And so um, there have been a lot of layoffs in the past like several months, and people are hesitant to hire even when they need to. And so there is opportunity right now for contracting that where organizations maybe have never contracted before. Um, I mean, I have so many other reasons, but though I'll just leave it with two because I'm
That
sure you
sounds
have
good.
other.
Yeah, I want to definitely get back to the RFP conversation. I left the main chat and I can see there are 28 questions or statements that have been placed in the chat since uh, I started talking to you because I stopped paying attention. So let's get back into it. I'm gonna stop the recording right now and people feel free to pop on and ask your questions, raise your hand, however you want to, and then we'll go from there. So everybody who's here live, stick around. Everybody who's in YouTube land, we'll see y'all later.